Hey everyone, just want to give a shout out to all seven of my viewers last time. Thank you for watching. Goal is to hit 10 this time, so it's just a lot easier than me replying to all the different feeds through Twitter. I want to talk about Bengals and their playoff chances, as well as um, the MVP race and how that pertains to CJ Stroud. Just give my feedback to it because I think a lot of those answers are a little more nuanced than um, just 144 characters or whatever the heck it is on Twitter. Um, so starting off with the Bengals, obviously it was a tough loss, and they got a quick turnaround. They got 4 days, and they got to be playing the Ravens, which is not ideal for the team. I think that game's a bit of a toss-up, but I think you have X-factor players like T. Higgins that won't be able to play in that game, and that's where I give the edge to the Ravens in that one. I think the Bengals are a really good team, and I think the Chiefs or any other team that would think that maybe they've lost a step or are not as good this year, they'd be fools to believe that. Um, I also don't think that them beating the 49ers is also a sign that they're so great either, though, because I think there are players that when they're not on their team, they lose some of that juice, and I think T. Higgins could be that for the Bengals. I think you could see Jamar Chase got doubled up a lot more, which did open up Tyler Boyd, but that obviously burned them a little bit at the end, and that's not just a take a Boyd. It just is what it is. Chiefs have been dropping the ball all season, so call a spade a spade. But I think when you look at the 49ers, they went on a 3-game skid, and I wasn't surprised at all. I bet pretty big that they were going to come back this weekend, and they did because they got Deebo Samuel back. I think he's a huge factor for that team when he's been on the field. First, what was it, 4 games, something like that. He's been off the field for the last 3 games during their 3-game losing streak. So, um, getting him back, obviously, they look, dynamic as ever. So, if they got Deebo Samuel, watch out for the 49ers. They're a team that's for real. Also, adding Chase to the defensive line, it's just, what can you do? That's a stacked team. But going back to the Bengals, I think the Bengals will lose to the Ravens this week, which is just unfortunate that it's a 4-day turnaround time and just not enough time for T. Higgins to heal up. They don't have any bye weeks left, so they're going to be going strong the whole rest of the season. But I do think the schedule actually does favor them a bit. They play the Steelers, who are not, they're just not that great of a team. They take advantage of the teams that they should be competitive against, and they win those games. And they get beat pretty bad by some of the teams that they don't have a chance with. If you look at their points differential, it's like minus 70, which is really, really bad. The Ravens are like plus 113 or something like that. So it's like a 183 point discrepancy between those two teams, but only a 1-win differential between the two. That's how wild the NFL is sometimes. I do see the Bengals going on a pretty long win streak here. Any given Sunday, teams can pull off victories, but I think Jacksonville's just not as good. I think we've seen that in a few of their games. They got stomped pretty bad by the Texans. And then I honestly didn't feel like the Chiefs struggled very much against them either. Their offense is just, teams have figured out how to stop that offense. And we'll see if they can turn it around. I like Coach Doug Peterson, but it's not looking good for the Jaguars, in my opinion. If you're a 6-3 team, you should be pretty excited. And honestly, I'd be really worried if I was a Jaguars fan. So I think Bengals will have a really good run up until they play the Chiefs. And who knows how much that game's going to matter to the Chiefs at that point in the season. It's on December 31st. I think the most interesting game for them in the season and where they're going to shake out is the final game of the season. I think it's January 7th against the Browns at home, if I remember correctly. So we'll see. I think the Bengals will make it into the playoffs, but it's not going to be easy, and they do have to go on a pretty good run after they lose to the Ravens. Now, speaking of those Texans and CJ Stroud, he's been in a lot of talks about MVP race. And I think deservedly so, but I think to be at the top of it is a bit too much. Shannon Sharp said that, and I see some other people on X also talking about that. And I'm not trying to totally poo-poo the idea, but if you look at the wins that the Texans do have, there's not a whole lot of impressive wins. The win against the Jaguars was pretty nice, but they also have a couple really bad, ugly losses. One against the Panthers, and then one against the Falcons as well. Also, they haven't had a bye yet, which could potentially help Stroud even become even better. Um, or even potentially slow down your momentum. Who knows? I mean, it's a tricky thing. But CJ Stroud still trails in completions and a fair amount of stats. I think he has maybe 200 yards, a little less than 200 yards than more than Mahomes, but that's with playing one extra game. So completion percentage, touchdowns, those are Mahomes. Now the most impressive stat for CJ Stroud is that he's only thrown 2 picks. Which is truly impressive. Now, one of those picks nearly cost him the game against the Bengals this last weekend, but he's done some really special things, so I think he's something to watch out for it. I think when you're looking at MVP candidates, you got to look at, if I remove this person from the team, will the team be the same? A la if you think back to when Peyton Manning was out for that entire season back with the Colts 20 years ago or whatever. The team went 1-15. That's a most valuable player. So, I mean, that's why it's hard for me to see Tua make it, just because there's so much talent on that team, and I think you could put in some other players, and they would be able to maybe help that team still win. There's just a lot of talent. Anybody can get the ball in Tyreek's hands. He's a truly special player. That's why he's on my helmet over. You know what I'm saying? The white helmet back there. He's great. So sorry Tua. I think you're a good quarterback, just not up for the MVP debate. I really see it right now as a 3-person race between Hurts, because he does not get enough credit for the tush push and what they do, and how strong his legs are and his ability to find the holes and the gaps and the interior 3 there to make it happen for him. Mahomes, consistently winning no matter how good his weapons are. He may not. I love Rashid Rice, so I see him as a future wide receiver, but he's not there yet. He can't block like it, and so they can't use him like a traditional one receiver. So we don't have a whole lot there. So I think if he can keep winning and putting up some points and has decent stats at the end of the season near the top of the league, I think he could be in the running too. And then CJ Stroud, obviously, more like offensive rookie of the year, just because there's a lot of unknowns with him. As far as, how much is it coaching? They had a great draft. It is a massive turnaround, and the kid is special. He plays well at the end of the game. There's a lot of season left to play, though, so we don't really know. We haven't seen the Texans without him, so we don't know what it's like if he's not there. But there's definitely an argument for him. I wouldn't argue against that, and I think there's a very strong argument for DeMeco Ryans for head coach of the year. So yeah, that's just my thoughts around it. I'd be interested to hear your guys's. Hopefully we can get up to 10 views this time, setting goals. Anyway, looking forward to the Eagles-Chiefs, and let's go Chiefs.